So I knew my dream would be on the screen actually when I was younger. I guess I was a very intuitive child. I knew that I saw people playing pretend on TV and I wanted that. So I made a promise to myself that when I got older, I was going to see my dream on the screen. And it happened. So that's what I knew. I think I was about 8. I knew that I would see my dream on the screen. My name is Kiara Barnes, and I am a director, producer, script supervisor, and community organizer. And I'm a daughter.
You're watching From the Dream to the Screen, episode 13. Your host, Ali Rack, and we have the awesome, amazing Kiara Barnes here. Thank you so much for joining us. Now,
yes, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, and you're fabulous. I love your hair. I meant to tell you that earlier.
Oh, thank you. I did it for you today.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Supposed to look fresh.
Thank you.
No problem. Now, this is my first time meeting Kiara face to face. I've actually met her through Shayla Raquel, which is another episode. So I'm glad that she actually referred me to you. We had a really good conversation on the importance of script supervisor, and that's pretty much how I got your name at first. So I want to ask you, before we go into your other endeavors, what is a script supervisor?
So a script supervisor basically monitors the continuity of the film or a show. So basically, we just make sure all the departments knows what's going on. I make sure the actors know what's going on. I break down the script to know what props are needed in the scene. And once we start rolling, I make sure every action that happens in the scene is the same. So it's a lot of watching monitors. It's a lot of watching little details and noting little details. It's just a lot of watching monitors and making sure everything is the same. So that's what a script supervisor pretty much in a nutshell is.
Okay, and I know, like I told you before, Shayla and I talked about the importance of a script supervisor because I know that's a job that I would probably get fired for day 2 because it is, to me, the most important job on a set. And yeah. I just want to let you know the audience for this podcast is mainly not just filmmakers, but people who love film and they're learning about film. And we want to educate them on what we do and the different roles, because it takes like a huge village to create these shows, like web shows and films. So we want to pay homage to people who work behind the scenes in every single capacity to make all of our dreams come true. And so that's why I'm so happy to have you on here to talk about this particular role, because it is a huge deal. So for you just gave us the duties. Tell us, why is this role so important?
It's important because once you finish shooting and you take it to editing, everything needs to match up. Because I don't know, there was a meme circulating probably last year, 2 years ago. It was some indie film that came out on Amazon, and every time they cut back to one character, there was more and more people in the background. They clearly didn't have a script supervisor, so it's things like that the viewer's eye catches. We need to catch it so you don't see those mistakes. Or for another example, Game of Thrones, the last season, how they had so many continuity errors. There was a Starbucks cup in the background. That's my job to catch that. So the viewers at home don't think, like, they don't lose their enthusiasm in the story by looking at these details like, hey, how is this something that's mid-century or what have you, and there's a Starbucks cup in the background. That's really important. And also too, for the editor, keeping the editor's notes so that transition is smooth. So my role is important because once we cut the film, it just needs to look great. It needs to look how it is, or how it is written in the script. And that's my job, to keep that on track.
Now, with this job, who do you work with solely? Like, who's the one or two roles that?
I work with the director. I'm like the director's, I say the director's right hand. Working with a good director, you could kind of bounce off ideas as well. But most of the time I work with the director. And then I tell the director certain things that I see an actor does, and the director corrects it. And then I also too work closely with the editor, because I give the notes to the editor. So the editor can come back to me and say, "Hey, Kiara, on day 3, when y'all shot these external shots, do you know what happened here? Or I don't know where the footage is. Do you know what the footage number is?" So that is my job. So pretty much the people I mostly interact with will be the director, and then the editor and post-production.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I'm like the liaison between the director and editor. So
You're
I'm
pretty much like the
middle
heartbeat.
woman. I am the heartbeat. I am the heart, because you'll be surprised, especially we're on set and other departments are like, "Hey, what light did we have?" Because when you film, you don't film in sequential order. You film all out of order. So we can shoot in a theater one day, and then 2 weeks later come back to the same theater, and a whole different department can ask me, "Hey, Kiara, we set up these lights. Do you remember what lights there was?" So it's my job to know that. So I take notes for everybody. I'm making sure the script is great, making sure the actors saying their lines correctly. So it's a super important job. Invest in a script supervisor. Everybody listening, if you're an indie, please invest. It'll be the best investment you've made.
I agree. It's funny. No, I think that's definitely important, because particularly when you're putting together your budget for production, because everyone's thinking about the whole entire budget, including editing. I mean, look, get the thing shot first and get it shot right.
And with no cups or misplaced things in the background. Yeah, because I think that's because in indie, right, we cut corners because that's what we have to do because we don't have the money. But I think to make quality work, some corners you just can't cut. Like you need a good DP, but you also need a good script supervisor too.
Exactly.
So it's like, what can I sacrifice? You can probably sacrifice a PA or two and just have the whole, all hands on deck. But
I agree.
Do not budget for a scriptie. It's important.
I agree. So can you tell us a time where there was a situation in a show or on set where you saved the day? If there was
where
one
I saved the day. When don't I save the day? I'm thinking of something that's very unique. I would have to say, not naming any names, but the lighting setup was wrong, and we were just moving so fast, and we were shooting daytime, but it was supposed to be nighttime. And so I guess that's when I saved the day. Like, hey guys, the note in the script, this is day, this is night. So we had to go back and change all of the lighting setups because you're working 12 some hours. By the time you're at that last setup, you're not thinking about it. You just want to get it done. And then I think another moment too is what we call a hot set, when people come and leave cups and stuff placed around, kind of like the Game of Thrones. There was some cups that wasn't supposed to be there in the background. We did a couple takes, and I was like, wait, that wasn't in there before. So we had to, correct it. So I think those are the two instances that I saved the day, but it happens more than it doesn't happen. So absolutely. I'm always putting out fires.
I believe you. Now, I know that please tell us your journey, because I don't want to speak for you, but just tell us our journey into filmmaking.
Okay, I'll give you the short story. Okay. So senior year in college, well, let's back up. I always knew that I wanted to work in film ever since a child, but as many parents, who grew up at the baby boomers know, you go work for a corporation, you retire, that's all you do. So my last semester in college, I was sitting with my friend and I was just crying because I'm about to graduate in 2-3 months and I don't want to do sport management. I went to school for sport management. And I was just miserable. And so I moved back home to Atlanta, moved in with my parents, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. I have to work in film. So I went to the Instagram, the Twitters, Facebook, just trying to get into anything film. And I just networked at these various events. And through that, I teamed up with Damn Right Originals. I was on their team. I'm still on the team. And they gave me a foot in the door from script to be a PA. And then one of the girls on the team had been a script supervisor, and she couldn't work on another indie set. And she's like, "Hey, Kiara, I believe you can be a script supervisor. Just look it up on YouTube, and can you please take this job for me because I can't work it?" And I was like, "Yeah, girl, I got you. I did some research on script supervisor, and I was like, this is where I need to be, because my ultimate goal is to direct.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm working with the director. I'm seeing the shot list. I didn't go to film school. So all the knowledge I need to know to be a director, I can learn by being a script supervisor. So I learned, went to YouTube University, read a couple books, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do it. And then I just started promoting myself as a script supervisor, started getting paid. And here I am.
Nice. I just heard some noises, so I was just making sure we're good because it's raining here. Oh, sorry. I had that blank face. Like, what's happening?
Coming. Yeah.
Again, right.
Jeez.
I know. So you already answered that question about how you learn about script supervising. So I know earlier we talked about you transitioning from script supervising to filmmaking. How did that transition, and how is that going right now?
Yeah, so my ultimate goal has always been directing, and I made the transition when I stopped being a dreamer and started doing it. So this past year and last year, I shot my first short film, Break. Through a conversation with a good friend of mine, I was just telling her how I was just frustrated because with indie, you don't get paid. And you can't pay your bills with inconsistent checks. So I was just frustrated about that. And she was like, Kiara, I have this script. I think you can direct it. And I'm like, of course I can direct it. I've been watching monitors as a scriptie. I can do this. So we did the film. It turned out great. And that kind of is how the transition happened. To get on bigger projects with like studios, I did a lot of networking, and I was like a set PA. And then I had the opportunity to work on an HBO show that I networked my butt off, that kind of landed me my current job. But to make that transition, it wasn't as difficult as I made it seem at the time, because this industry, what I tell everybody, is a faith-based industry. You have to have faith in everything you do in this industry, because you don't know where your next check is coming from. Like, you're only as good as your last phone call. So you have to have that faith, like, okay, my phone is going to ring. My phone is going to ring. So the transition wasn't hard, but I would say I put myself in a position to where I was undeniable. I showed up early. I stayed late. I'm a team player, still a team player. Just make sure the set was good. Even as a scriptie, I would help the PAs out. And I would constantly trying to train up somebody else. And so I think doing all of that made me a little bit more appealing to get bigger jobs.
Okay.
So the transition wasn't too hard, but it was kind of difficult. It had its difficulties.
I understand. So with that transition, though, when she asked you to direct that script, did you do the full shebang of hiring everyone? Like, from straight up, hey, this is a script, direct it. There's no one else attached to it, to the completion of it?
Yeah. So we both produced it. So we hired a few people, the people that we could pay. And yeah, we rocked it from inception to completion. So I think that answers your question. So yeah. It was definitely difficult, especially trying to get the funding.
Now, I know that most people's goals are to be producer, director, or director, not really producer, but directors, right? And so now that you've done it for sure, and you want to do it, do you ever see yourself going back to script supervisor for another project?
Absolutely. I mean, I love being a script supervisor, and I mean, a check is a check, honey. So if the opportunity comes and I need the money, I'm going to take it, because I think too, for those people who are listening, you have to make yourself undeniable, and you have to be marketable. The term jack of all trades, master of none, I think that is complete BS. I think you can master certain trades and still get paid for them. But if the opportunity did present itself, I would do script supervising.
Okay. Now, how do you see a lack of Black people in script supervising? Because in general, I see a lack of Black people in general in the industry,
Everything.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, and since the answer is yes, obviously, what
Yes.
is there? How do you get more Black people in that particular role?
I think it's education. I think it's things like this. Um, for people to see that, okay, there are other opportunities in film besides being the director, besides being an actress. I think it's that exposure and that representation, because back home in Atlanta, I only know one other script supervisor, and I literally recommend her for everything
Wow.
because she's the only one I know. She's the only Black female I know, and that's my passion, is to uplift Black women. So I think the education needs to be there, because and plus script supervising is not as glamorous as a director. So many kids who do go to film school, they don't focus on it or they don't concentrate on it. But I think that the more representation and the more things like this to expose people to the different roles, I think we can see an increase. But for now, it's probably like a handful of us.
And I was about to say that because I feel like someone said, "Hey, I think you could do this," and you were like, "Cool, I know I can do it," and you rocked it. And so it would take you or someone else to say, "Hey, you want to be in this industry? I think you should try this out," or learn the different roles and see maybe your lane is more so as a gaffer or as a script supervisor, editor, like our sound. It depends. You're right. Everyone wants to go to directing, and maybe that's not everyone's passion once they learn.
Yeah, because honestly, to get to that position, if you go not the non-indie route, you're going to be a PA for like 7 years just to even move somewhere. And it's like, who wants to do that? Like, no shade to the PAs. Like, being a PA, you gotta put in your dues. Like, I really fully believe that. But I mean, nobody has 7-8 years to be a PA. And I feel like script supervising, if you want to play the game, I think is a dope route to go, because you're automatically next to the director, who's next to the producer, who's next to the executive producer. So you're already in that bubble to do that networking to progress your career along further. And to get in the union, I'm not a script supervising union, but it's relatively easier than all the other ones. And you get paid pretty decent. So, I say I think it's a fast track.
I agree. It's another way to get to where you want to go. If you ultimately, like you said, want to be in the director seat one day.
It's the ultimate way to go, because if this industry is about building those connections, and what better way to build the connections with the people who you need to be speaking with that are right there, versus being a PA where you're like far out picking up trash where nobody knows who you are,
Exactly. And it also trains that eye too. So you're honing skills that you didn't think you really needed as a director by being a script supervisor.
Yeah, because you get the director's shot list, you get the director's notes. So it's free education. So that's what I try to preach to people. If you want to direct, become a script supervisor. If you like me, who did not go to film school, who just self-taught, become a scripty, because you get all of that free information to dissect and digest. And then you can go back and watch films, or since you'll know how to break down a script, you can break down a script and watch a film and see what they did. I mean, and it's free. So, I mean, I think people should become a script supervisor, please.
Now, I know, like me, you said that you are about uplifting Black women. So why is it important for us to tell our stories?
It's important to us to change the narrative. I mean, Hollywood and mainstream media has been such a disservice to the Black community for generations. And it's important for us to really see ourselves in a different light. I tell this story often because when I started traveling internationally, and I realized I was in St. Lucia, and there was like one reality show, a black cast, and they were just bickering and bickering. And I'm like, y'all get this channel here? And she was like, oh yeah, we see all the reality shows, or we see all the TV shows. And I'm like, that's what the world thinks of black people, because of these images that are on TV that's broadcast for the world to see. And it's not a correct representation or depiction of us and who we are as a people.
Right.
And so I think it's more important for us to get, and because I think women have an ability to empathize a little bit more, but no shade to my men, but it's important to get black women and men into these spaces to have our stories be told, to kind of clean up what has been spewed or projected of us to the world, you know? So it's a fight. It's a tough one.
I absolutely, and you and I both know there are a lot of filmmakers, particularly indie filmmakers, black women indie filmmakers, who have come out with some amazing content that unfortunately probably wouldn't reach, as like you said, like a St. Lucia.
Yeah, it won't reach the masses. And I think that, but I honestly believe that may be on, that's changing, because I think black people right now, and I can't, of course, I can't speak for everybody, but we want to see something new. We want to see something fresh. We're tired of seeing the same stuff over and over again. That's why I think Awkward Black Girl really did so well, because there's a lot of black women out there that's awkward, like me. Or, you know, there's a lot of us blurs, black nerds out there that we gravitate towards that particular content, but we just don't see ourselves in it. Exactly. So with indie, we get to tell our stories freely. And I think a lot of more people, if done well, they'll start gravitating towards it.
Okay. I agree. We are not, you know, monolithic, is what people say. So we want to see ourselves in different situations, in normal situations that we're in all the time, on the screen. So
yeah. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. And to me, it's just like, why can every culture be depicted in so many ways, but we as black people get the same roles, same things, same storylines, and it's exhausting, you know? But I think people are starting to listen. Hopefully they'll listen, and this is just not a trend. One can only hope.
Right. We hope. Now, are there any upcoming projects that you have that you're working on that you would like to tell?
Yes. So right now, me and my producer partner, Celeste, the one I did break with, we are in the process of a film called Black Girls and Fairy Tales. We're doing a little, we're in pre-production now. I can't say too much about it, but I think it's going to be beautiful. I think it goes back to that representation, because Black women are not depicted as princesses. You know, even when we were, she was a frog the whole movie.
I know.
Even though it was a premise. But yeah, so that's a project I'm super, super excited about. And we should film that next year, COVID willing. So yeah, I'm excited.
Let me ask you, is that animated or is that live action?
It'll be live action.
Okay, so I'm asking because I have 3 Black daughters. The oldest is 5. Yeah. And because they've been home since March, we've been doing some TV watching, and some of it's not just educational stuff. And so they've watched like everything for the most part with us in it. And so, like, for your point with Princess and the Frog,
Black girls, yeah.
My oldest for the longest time didn't like it because she was like, I don't like it when she changes into a frog. And I'm like, baby, that's what we have. Please love it. Eventually she loved it and she wants to watch it all the time. But at first I'm like, no, this is like, you have to, like I'm just grabbing onto the one. Yeah. And I'm like, you have to. So when you tell me what you just told me, I'm like, I'm so excited to see it. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't even know the target audience, but I'm just like, I want my Black girls to see more of us.
Yeah, in a princess form. And I think, and that's why I'm so excited for this film. We touch on some touchy things, but it's like PG. But because I know you say your oldest is 5, but I think it's important. And then, I'm excited for the project. I might have to like circle back around with you so I can, once we have a little more solid foundation when I can talk about it more, give
Absolutely.
you a special little interviews and, yeah,
That'll
it'll be
be
nice.
dope. Let people know what's going on. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
overall, where do you see the future for Black filmmakers?
I honestly, I see us dominating, really making Atlanta the new Black Hollywood, even though I am in LA now, but
Mm-hmm.
also not needing these bigger studios to back us, that we're able to back ourselves with the
Mm-hmm.
amount of funding that we can get. That is my hope. I mean, we can dominate Hollywood as well, but I really see more Black content coming to the screen. I feel like now there's been an uprising of different corporations, whether it's performing art or not. They really want to hear Black voices. Hopefully it sticks around.
Right.
And
Right.
I think we're here, and I just hope that we continue to blaze these trails so we can get those opportunities. But we are the culture. We provide culture for this planet. So I think that our content is worth a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I pray there's a lot more Black ownership so we can continue to push out our work, and we don't need backing from these bigger studios.
Absolutely. I agree.
I don't think it's too ambitious. I think it can happen.
It most definitely can happen. Absolutely. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the content, the talent is there and has always been there. The
Has
content has
always
always
been
been
there.
there. I mean, we just needed the avenue because you
We just
already
need the
know
avenue.
there's certain streaming services and certain networks that are giving us a chance. And with those chances, the work is amazing. There you go.
Right.
Without naming names. Uh,
Yeah. Right.
yeah. So, yes. So now this is my line of questioning. I asked the first 2 questions are usually different for different people. The last one's the
Okay.
same. First one, and you can take your time thinking about it. First one
Okay.
is, who is your favorite villain?
Who is my favorite villain? Hmm. I would say my favorite villain is the first thing that pops in my mind is the Joker is my
Mm-hmm.
favorite villain. I mean, it's when Heath Ledger played the Joker,
Yeah.
it's something about the mental state of a lot of these villains that I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, I need to know more. Oh, what kind of personality disorder he has? I don't know. I'm
Yes.
fascinated with personality disorders. So the Joker was just so great. That character, when Heath Ledger played the Joker, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the transformation
Yeah.
was amazing. God rest his soul. But yeah, that's one of my favorite villains.
Yeah, I only saw that movie once because of that. He did such a great job. It scared me. But it was a great, I mean, the dude was an amazing actor.
He's an
Yeah.
amazing actor. I think that for a while that was one of my favorite movies.
That was
But I moved on.
awesome. Awesome. Now, what is your favorite genre?
My favorite genre has to be comedy. I love
Mm-hmm.
to laugh
Mm-hmm.
because laughter is medicine for the soul, whatever that saying is.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah,
I'll roll with that.
sounds right.
Now, what is the one show or film that when it comes on TV, like live TV that we grew up with, not the pause and, on demand, that when it comes on TV, you have to stop whatever you're doing and watch it?
One show or film. I'm going to take it back to cartoons. I'm going to say The Proud Family.
What?
I don't know why, but I honestly have been watching that show on Disney Plus like it's new. And if it were to come on TV, I probably will stop everything and just watch it. I don't know, maybe because when I was introduced to that cartoon, I felt like I saw myself. And then at that age, I was like, oh, I know I want to do this.
Yeah.
So it has like a special place in my heart.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm still a big kid at heart. I still watch cartoons.
There's nothing wrong with that. And not at all. And
That
like,
keeps your inner child alive.
absolutely. And we've been introducing our kids to like the 80s and 90s cartoons that we've been watching. They love it.
Better.
They love Captain Planet. Such a great show. Yes. And they love that show.
Yeah. I mean, the Proud Family to me, it just reminded me of Black excellence. You had a dad with his own business, living a good life, had a beautiful daughter, no struggle. It's just a wholesome Black family.
Right. Absolutely.
It's not that much to ask, is it?
It's not. But the thing is, we should have at least 10 of those. At least 10. But
yeah.
I mean,
even it's just like, who are making these decisions that Black people want to see this all the time? It is traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, we have to stop promote like certain TV, like certain things that happen. It's traumatizing. And I'm like, why do we as a people have to constantly be traumatized?
Right. We can't just be.
But
you can't just be.
We just can't be. And that's why I have to watch comedy and like cartoon shows to just be like, oh, okay, life is not that bad.
Right. That's a whole other, it's
a whole other world. But let media tell you being Black is just so bad. And it has so much on your psyche. So yeah.
Oh my God. That's a whole other podcast right there.
I'm about to say, girl, I can go into the rabbit hole with you. I'm gonna pull it back.
Man, okay. But yeah, so I always end I want people to know your social media, but do you have any last remarks, whether it's to people audience members who just love film, love content, love Black content, or any indie filmmakers?
I will put this to my indie filmmakers. No shade to people who love content. I will just tell them to always know your why. Why are you in this business? I mean, because the shit ain't easy, but always know your why, and your why will carry you. As long as your why is aligned with your purpose. And that's my piece of advice.
Yeah, because it's not always fun. So it's not.
It's not. Because when you're like, okay, when my next check gonna come, these bills are due. It's not fun.
Right.
But if you go back to your why, God placed this. I ain't gonna take it to church either, but God placed this on you to do X, Y, and Z. It makes it a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah. Because I always say this. I think the last podcast episode, we talked about being a vessel. Mm-hmm. It's not every project you do is not about you. If God, like you said, if God put that on you and that idea in your head, do it, because it's not above you. Right.
Yeah. And that's like, honestly, when I was, we've been having production meetings for Black Girls and Fairy Tales, my next film. And I was talking to the writer, Celeste, and I was just like, you know what? I'm so excited for this film and the community that we're going to create. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not even about me. It's for Black women to truly love themselves. Mm-hmm. It's bigger than me. Like, I'm just going to direct it and put the team together by producing it, but this is not for us. Mm-hmm. It's for everybody else. And I think that's how I try to stay grounded in this industry. More advice for the other indie filmmakers: don't say yes to everything, because if it doesn't align with your goals, say no. Another opportunity will come. Mm-hmm. Because, child, let me tell you, you will be on some trash set, and it's just like, why did I sign up for this? This script is not even that good, But you just want to be on there. I don't know. Yeah, that's exactly. You just wanted to. Sometimes it's good to say no, but know what you're saying no to. But you always have to know your why so your purpose, because it's so hard. It's so easy to get lost in this industry.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Nobody got time to be homeless.
For real. That's something one of my bosses said years ago. He said, don't just produce something just to produce it. Mm-mm. Like, you have to be passionate about it.
You have to be passionate. And not to say that every project you get on or book is going to be, oh my God, this is going to change my life. But you have to feel connected to it in a way that you'll want to do it or it means something. You know,
Exactly.
my mentor, one thing he told me is like, here, don't do whack shit. At the time, I was just like, what? But he was just like, don't do whack shit. Because then you always going to think that whack shit is cool. And I interpret it as like, you can say no to things. And every script that you come across is not the best script. You can, because that isn't going to be a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna stay with you forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Especially as a script supervisor, I had to tell many writers, like, hey, you can't start just changing things that we already shot it because you're going to make me look bad. This is my reputation, you know?
That's
So
true. And I appreciate that you
it's,
have, enough oomph to actually say that to them.
yeah. Because not only, because I'm in the spirit of progressing, it's like, do we want to be in the same position our whole careers? Like, no, I'm trying to advance. So
Exactly.
if I'm putting 110%, you got to be putting 120 because you writing, directed, and acting in it, you know? So
Exactly. All the three.
all the three, which I don't even know how you're doing it all, but you're doing it. So you got to be honest, know your why, and just say no to certain things that you know you should say no to.
I feel you on that. I always like to close also with actually, let's do your social media first and your
Okay.
websites and any way that we can follow you and contact you.
It's so simple. All my socials is I am Kiara B. That's I am Kiara and the letter B. That's my website. I am kiarab.com. Twitter, Instagram. I had a Snapchat, everything.
Okay, gotcha.
LinkedIn.com/I am Kiara B.
There it is. Pop them with the link in, just so you know.
Just,
Appreciate you. You
link
never
me in,
know.
yeah, you never know. Shoot, you only did your last check. So hey, check me out.
Right. All right, like I always tell everybody, make sure you support the arts whenever we get back from COVID or COVID's over. Support your local film festival, your poetry slams, your local musical artists, your writers, directors, producers.
Mhm.
Buy a book, buy a t-shirt, support, buy a film online at these online festivals that they're having, go to the
Yeah.
concerts whenever it's safe. We feed off of your
Yeah.
energy. When it's safe, we feed off your energy, share a post, do whatever you can to support filmmakers
Mhm.
and artists all alike. Thank you so much, Kiara
Yes.
Barnes. I am Kiara B for everything.
Yes. Everything.
Thank you.